Hello everyone, I'm Parris Britton and I'm a senior manager in our professional practice and private clients team. Delighted to be here today for our fourth interview in our new podcast series, Leading Her Way. This podcast celebrates and showcases the journeys and achievements of some of our female leaders at Crowe and highlights the projects being led by our Women's Empowerment Programme. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Phoebe Turner, a director in our corporate finance team who has been part of Crowe for 14 years.
Thanks, Parris. It's great to be here.
So firstly, can I ask you why WEP is so important to you and to the firm?
I think the fact that the firm has got a WEP programme demonstrates that it wants to understand and listen and support its people, and that it's open to new innovative ideas, ways of working that work for its people.
Absolutely. Moving on to your time at Crowe, what challenges have you faced?
So thinking of my career at Crowe, I joined as a trainee in 2011 and I've been fortunate enough to work across 3 different teams while I've been here. The accounts team, then spent 7 years in audit and moved across to corporate finance in 2018. During that time, when I think of challenges, the main one that springs to mind is my decision to move from audit to corporate finance. I think a lot of people probably wouldn't think of that as a challenging decision and a big decision at that point in my life, but for me it really was. In audit, I built up quite good relationships with people that I really valued. I was comfortable with the work I was doing and I had quite good career progression to date, so there wasn't really anything pushing me to go. And when I was toying with the decision, I had to accept, well, do I take a sideward step and accept the career progression isn't going to be there initially? And can I sit with the feeling of that I may have let people down? I had quite a lot of discussions with different people and made the decision to make the move. And everyone was actually really supportive. My fears of letting people down, I don't think actually came to fruition. Having moved, it was totally the right thing for me. I've learned so much more. I think sometimes you can get caught up with just thinking that progression is the only goal, and you forget about actually, am I enjoying my job? Am I doing a good job? Am I continuing to learn if that is what you want? And am I continuing to be a well-rounded person and employee, colleague? So grand scheme of things, the move to CF probably cost me maybe 2 years of progression, but for me that wasn't the main goal. So yeah, I've absolutely made the right decision in challenging circumstances.
I find it quite interesting that you mentioned feeling like you let people down, and actually if you hadn't have taken that step, you would have been letting yourself down. Yeah. How do you think the WEP network has supported your career progression?
So when I think of the 3 teams I've worked across, I've been surrounded by great people and supported really well by those people. They haven't all been directly part of the WEP network. Some have, some haven't. But I really feel like the way that they've led their teams, run their teams, have really aligned with what the WEP network is trying to convey and really trying to promote. And in them doing that, I've learnt those behaviours. And that is what I'm now trying to pass down and kind of lead in that same way to the teams I work in.
We're always thinking about the next generation. So could you share with us a personal story, strategy, or some practical advice for the next generation of female leaders in professional services?
When you think of leaders in professional services, there are stereotypes that come to mind, and I think particularly in corporate finance. And when I was thinking about my decision to move to corporate finance, that did come into play. I couldn't see how someone with my personality type, someone like me, could fit into that world and could lead in that world if that's what I chose to do. Nevertheless, I made the decision, and actually having been in this world and kind of developed and evolved and met great people, I've realised actually those ideas that I thought were the case, that's not the case at all. And although I don't have a direct leader who I identify with, who, looks like me, behaves like me, has my personality, I see now that there is still a place for someone like me and my positive skill set, positive attributes. I guess the message is, just because you can't see someone like you in a leadership role that you identify with doesn't mean that there isn't a role out there for you. You can create it.
Absolutely. Really useful advice. Focusing on leaders, what qualities do you think are important for a leader?
Some of the key ones that I think get overlooked are the more caring, nurturing side. So I think it's really important to really care about what you're doing, caring about your people, listening to the people you work with, valuing them. I think making your actions match your words will really kind of gain trust with people, and also just giving the people around you opportunities, and making sure that they're given the space to develop themselves.
Absolutely. Listening, caring, authenticity, completely agree. So our last question, it's actually left by Ellie in our last interview, and she asked, what's the one piece of advice that you have received which you think someone would find useful as they progress through their career?
I think there are probably two, one more general and one a bit more specific. So the more general advice, I think that I've taken some time to actually understand myself, is that you don't need to know, when you start out in your career, you don't need to know what your end goal is or where you want to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I certainly didn't, and probably still don't now, and that's okay. I think as you evolve as a person, your career evolves at the same time, you change. I also think that at different points in your life, you have different priorities and you don't know what they're going to be. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay not to 100% know. And then the second, more specific advice, which is something I've learned more recently, is it's okay not to know everything. No one knows everything. And actually, it's probably better for you to say in most circumstances, let me just go away and I'll find the answer and come back to you on that. I think overall you'd come across as a more trusted colleague, advisor, because you're giving the correct advice, the correct answer, rather than it being a rushed, off the cuff kind of response that may be incorrect and may come across as not particularly trustworthy. So yeah, those are my two pieces, I think.
Very, very useful advice. So what question would you like to leave, Phoebe?
So the question I'd like to ask is, looking back on your career and how it's progressed, is there anything that you'd do differently knowing what you know now?
Wow, good question. So that's all we've got time for today. Thank you, Phoebe, for joining us on our 4th Leading Her Way podcast.
Thanks, Parris. It's been great talking to you.
Thanks everyone for watching. And I hope you'll join us for our next interview on this series of Leading Her Way.